Standard operating procedures are needed no matter what size of company you find yourself in. And that's why today I'm going to be talking about how to actually create and organize your SOPs inside of Asana. I'm a firm believer that all the work, the people, the resources, all of the tools that are required should be happening in the same place that the work is actually happening. And so I actually created another video. You can go and check that out on what the structure of this looks like. But I've gotten some comments recently on YouTube. Thank you so much for those that are commenting and liking. If you are not doing that, you can comment and like right now. But people were asking, how do you actually build it? Let's start from the ground up. And so today, that's exactly what I'm going to do. So again, if you're not following already, make sure you subscribe, like this video, and share it with someone who would find it helpful. Let's get into the demo. So what this will look like for you is a structure where there are two projects. Essentially, one is what I call the tech we use, and then the second one is the SOP index, and I'll show you exactly how those are structured. So if we go into our demo team here, I'm going to just create a new project from scratch. I'm going to call this tech we use, and you can just make it a list. Doesn't really matter. And now we want to start thinking about ordering things and organizing them in a really logical way. And so the way that I do that is create sections. And so you want to think about how we would organize the work inside of a team. All right. And so the first section could be anything related to collaboration, like so. I'm going to tab N to create a new section, and then we go finance. And then we can go marketing and design. That's not how you spell that. There we go. And so now what tools do you have in your stack that would fall under each of these categories? We want to list them out here. So my favorite, obviously, we're in it right now. We're all here to learn. Asana. And then we could say Slack could be another one. Not really a collaboration tool, but maybe we have collaboration and communication. There we go. And then a third could be Gmail, like so. Under finance, I could have QuickBooks, or depending on what you're running, maybe that's Zero. We could do Harvest or whatever we want. Maybe you do invoices in there. And then marketing and design, we're going to have one of my favorites, Canva. We've got maybe Photoshop here. And then the last one, we'll just put in, I don't know, Figma, like so. Great. So this is where we start with everything. And I like to think of SOPs in two ways. There are the SOPs that are provided by all of these platforms here. And so if you go to, say, Slack knowledge base as an example, right? Where is it? There we go. Knowledge sharing, help center. This is probably it. There we go. So they have all of the like getting started SOPs. So typically what I would do is come in here first as I'm building it, because there are going to be the standard SOPs on just generally how the tool works. And then there are going to be the SOPs on how we use the tool within our organization. And so let's take a look how to create a Slack workspace. So I would simply go like this, and then we go back to Asana. And if it is Slack, we're looking at, let's pull this over here. I'm going to create a custom field for a link. I'll just call that a text field, and we'll just call this link, and we'll add it. There we go. Oh, there you got one. Let's pull that one in then. Perfect, just like so. And then I'm going to put this link right inside of here, because as Slack updates how it works, we're just going to want to link back to the most relevant updated version of the document to save us having to go and then do it. And then if you want to, you can just like kind of copy this here just to kind of provide some context to the folks that are using the tool. And then you can always let them know to be just to redirect themselves to that help doc. That's what that would look like. And then within here, actually, let's pull this back out because I went a little bit too fast. Let's go back up to the top. So the link that we want to have in the top section here is the actual link to the knowledge base, right? Where we have all those intro docs And then we want to go in and start picking out the more relevant ones that are related to just how the platform works. So this was how to create a Slack workspace. So we will just title this Slack workspace like so. And then we can go in here and then we're going to add in that link to that relevant doc and then do the same thing that I did before. So bit of a different order, but there we go. That's what it should look like. So over time, you'll see that there is Slack. This could be a general how we use Slack or what we use Slack for. This is our main internal comm channel. Review the relevant SOPs below. Something like that. Is what I would put there. And then as you gather more SOPs, you can go back and you can think, what's the next relevant one? How to join a Slack workspace. And you just want to kind of search each of the tech platforms' knowledge bases for what's relevant to you. So this is how to join a workspace in Slack. Like so, we go in, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to add a link right there, and then I'm just going to copy this information. We don't have to do this, but again, it's whatever's relevant to you, just as long as the person viewing the SOP knows that they have to go back to Slack to get that information. That's what the minor SOPs would be, I suppose. Now we want to get into how do we use this tool inside of our organization. And so that's where we can come in and we can say things now like how to run the weekly stand-up in Slack. Maybe we'll change that to daily stand-up in Slack, just like so. And the reason we really want to do this is that there's some separation. We have the SOPs that will get us started in using the tool effectively, and then there are the SOPs that we need to understand how things run around here. And so a good rule of thumb is the person that is actually doing that task or is the owner of that responsibility or that process in your company, they're the one that should be documenting this for the people that will come after them. One of the things I'll often see is that we don't realize that we don't have enough documentation until the person that was the owner of it or had all the knowledge in their head either goes on vacation or is dismissed and is no longer with the company. And then the rest of the team and leadership is now scrambling, trying to get back. And so we want to eliminate this as much as we possibly can. And so let's continue the demo here. So now we've got 3 subtasks. You can go as far as you want to with this: how to run daily stand-up, how to invite customers to the Slack Connect channel. And if you have a roundabout way of doing that, you'd want to document that in there. So now let's dive right into one of these subtasks to show you how I would structure the SOP. I use a tool called Text Expander to make this simpler. My entire team has access to this tool as well. And what it does is it creates snippets. And so you can put in a short code and then it spits out the relevant information so that all your communication is aligned across your company as well. So the short code in this case is .SOP, and it's going to populate automatically the structure of the SOP. In order to start this off, I typically will ask the team to put together a video. Loom is what we use, and so it would be a Loom video on how to run the daily stand-up in Slack. You're walking them through it, and then from there, we want to document what the purpose of this is. We want to have more effective daily stand-ups in Slack, the roles that are required. So this could be a project manager, product owner, team lead, whoever's running the stand-up and whoever needs to be in the stand-up, you would have their roles listed here. Resources needed. Maybe you need access to the production board. You need access to people's calendars so that you can make sure that they're added to the daily stand-up. You need to understand how to create a workflow in Slack. And so that can be listed as a resource, or that could be a note here that if the workflow is not set up or the person wasn't added to the workflow, then they wouldn't be added to the daily stand-up and so on. So just any notes that are related to this SOP are things that you want to really document. And then you want to document these steps. So step 1 is click on the lightning bolt, create workflow, or go to the channel where the stand-ups are happening, and put in what you worked on yesterday, what you working on today, and what's blocked, right? And so you would just list out all of those steps here. And what's nice is now Asana has made it so that you can add in images in line. And so you can pull in relevant images so that as you're going through the steps, people have something to reference as well. And so that's what that would look like. So we've got all of our SOPs here. Let me just put a couple more underneath here. How to send invoices, how to set up a customer in QuickBooks Online, and then let's go to Canva, how to create YouTube thumbnails, and then how to create podcast, I don't know, thumbnails. Not important in this case, but now we have our structure. And so what I do is I take this a step further and just make it a little bit pretty. You do not have to do this, but if you do switch to the board view, what you can now do is you can add images to all of these as well. And so that can match your branding. And when you upload the image, it works as a cover photo for it as well. So some people like to have the tech we use in the board view, so it's really easy to navigate. You have those nice visuals there, and then you can simply come in and drop down and see exactly what is required of you. So this is the view that I tend to like having the tech we use in. And so I'm going to save that as my default right there. So now I'm going to take you to the next part. And so what that looks like is having a space called the SOP index. The reason why the SOP index is important is because it's not organized by the technology that you're using. It's organized by the area within the company or your role and responsibility so that anyone can come in and search that SOP index to understand how to go about that process, what the status of that SOP is, whether it's outdated, whether it needs updating, whether it needs to be documented. And then this space is collaborative and can be used, and you would essentially encourage your team to use this space to create their own SOPs as well. I'm a firm believer that this shouldn't be the responsibility of 1 or 2 people. Everyone should take ownership of their SOP. If they have a specialty, they should be documenting how they are doing it. And so let's take a look at that really quickly. So we've got our one project here. I'm going to go in and I'm going to add another project, and we're going to call it SOP index. This is going to be a list as well. And now we're going to start adding our stuff. So if we reference our tech we use, which I recommend we do, we can have similar headings, but they may change a little bit because understand the tools that are underneath here are collaboration and communication tools. The tools here are finance tools. The tools here are marketing and design related tools. But within the SOP index, you'll have some that are similar and some where you need to get a bit more creative, I guess we'll say. So the first section I'll create is needs documenting, and I'll show you why that is important in a minute. And then you want to go in, and it could be general company information. So this is where you can now have the company address. This could be how to submit expense reports, right? And so what you kind of want to think about here is if you think about it from a hierarchical standpoint, you want to start with the tech we use and as much documentation that can be listed under the tool that is required to complete that task. That is your first step. Because arguably, how to submit your expense reports, that could be something that is done via email and not specific to a tool, or there could be a workflow set up in Asana where you submit a form, for example. So this one right here, if we did really think about how does this task get executed, this could be a subtask for how we do this. So how do we submit expense reports? So we'll just take it a step further in Asana. All right. So what's nice about this flow now, I'm just going to delete this for a second just to show what this will look like down the road. Actually, one second. Let me just go and finish this up a little bit. So now we have leadership, we have finance, we have, let's go marketing and design again. And I'm going to forget a whole bunch of them, because I'm just doing a demo today. I usually have a section for tech we use as well, and this is the reason why. So now we can go back over here. Let's add our list. I'm going to take all of these and I'm going to multi-home them to the SOP index. And I'm going to put them underneath the tech we use section. So going forward, like the index really is a place where anyone can now come and see all of the related SOPs. Are you going to populate there? There we go. So you can come to the SOP index. You can see all of the tech we use. It's just a bit of a different view, but again, you can get the same information here. Now we take it a step further. So if we go back to this Asana example, right, how to submit expense reports, this task itself right here can now be multi-homed to the most relevant section inside of the SOP index. So again, this all depends on your company and how you want to organize this. And so something like how to submit expense reports could be general company information, and it also could go under finance. And so it's totally up to you. For this example, I'm going to put it under general company information. So then I go back to tech we use. I'll go into this subtask and I'm going to tab P to add it to our new SOP index, and I'm going to put it under the general company information section. So you can see what we're doing here, right? We're building this structure where everything, as much as we can, originates from the tech we use. We think, how does it relate to this tool? And then from there, we put it in the relevant section. So let's go back and I'll just do another example. Let's do finance. Let's go under harvest, and I'm going to create a subtask, and it's going to be how to approve payroll in harvest. Like so, I'm going to go in and use text expander .sop like so. We're going to fill in our SOP like that. And then we're going to press tab P again. I'm going to add it to our SOP index. And then we're going to put it under leadership, because someone in leadership is going to have to be the one that is approving the payroll, right? And so now we can come in and by role, by department, you can fill this out. I'm not going to fill them all out, but really that's the logic that we want to have when we're approaching this, okay? I'll do one more for you because we already have them. And so if we go under QuickBooks, we can now take how to send invoices. So who's sending invoices, right? It's typically an account manager or an accountant, right? And so again, depending what that role looks like in your company, what section would this make sense to go under inside of your SOP index? But who's setting up a customer in QBO? That's going to be your accountant or your bookkeeper or your finance department. So again, I'm just going to come in, .sop, pause to steal that SOP template if you want it. And then I'm going to go tab P to now add it to my SOP index. There we go, and it's going to go under finance, and I'll do the same thing with how to send invoices, because if we have a new finance person on the team, they are going to need to know how to do this. And so there we go. We can go finance. So now we can see this is starting to come together really nicely, right? The more tech we have, the longer it's going to take to document everything. And again, remember that there are two levels of this. So how to create a Slack workspace. Who would do that? Maybe a project manager would do that. So now I have a section called project management, and I would multi-home those general how-tos to that section as well. So now we want to get to how do we actually keep this organized and up to date, all right? So I'm going to create and I think I have it already because this is an old space, but I'm going to go in, I'm going to choose from library, and I think it's called SOP status. There it is, right there. So we have SOP status. These are all newly created, so I just have up to date. We have needs review. So if someone that owns this task is the one that documented it, but we have some kind of quality control parameters, then we want to have a needs review, and then that can be assigned to the person that is reviewing it. And once they review it and approve it, we can move it to, up to date, or we can now say, this is in progress if we're the one doing it. And then under the needs documenting section, right? This could be things that kind of come up and maybe we don't have the time to document it right away. So we could say how to use Ecamm Live. If there are any Ecamm Live people out there, I'd love some help because I'm testing out this new software. But that could be something that needs to be documented. I don't have the time to do it right now, so I'm going to go to do, right? And then I'm going to assign it to myself, and I'm going to, complete that on that date. And so over time, you'll just see that these all start to get updated, and you can really look through and understand at a quick glance what needs your attention, what's up to date, and where your SOPs are really at. And so I'm going to do one more quick thing because oftentimes the question is, how do we connect it to the work now? And so I don't think I have an example of this in here, but you can now take this, and if you are running an onboarding checklist, I have a video on what that onboarding checklist looks like. Go check it out. We can take this a step further because if you're onboarding a new accountant for, let's say, or a new project manager, or a new role, let's just say, we want to make sure that they have all that relevant information. And so within the onboarding checklist, you can now say, all right, and this can be in your onboarding template. Part of their onboarding is to review the finance section of the SOP index. And so now we can do a couple things. We can take this SOP, we can link it inside of their onboarding checklist so that they come back to this SOP and they can reference it so that they know how. We can also do the same for our project templates. If we deploy a project template, we can have a list or a checklist if it's a client onboarding or a client delivery project. And now we can have the SOP linked back to the SOP index so that as your team is completing that task, they can actually reference the SOP that would be most helpful for them. So that's what this structure looks like. I really hope that this was helpful for you. I love organization. If you haven't been able to tell, if you have any questions, please let me know. But comment on this video and let me know if you got some value out of this. I'd love to know how you're currently structuring your SOPs. Maybe they're inside of Google Drive and Google Docs, and you want to put together a more structured way to do that. I hope this video was helpful for you. And if you haven't already, please make sure that you join the System Builder Academy. We're having more conversations. Let me move over like this inside of the System Builder Academy. So if you are into productivity, if you are into Asana, if you are into things like Zapier and Notion and love productivity and want to learn more and have more conversations around the tools that we use every single day, visit systembuilderacademy.com to register your free account. Thanks for watching. As always, make sure you like and subscribe if you haven't, and we'll see you in the next video.